Good to go.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your work day to come sit here. We are from the nutrition department here at the Med Center, and we're here to talk to you today about portion control. Portion control is using the correct equipment to serve the correct amount of food from a standardized recipe. 3 things we want you to keep in mind as we go through our presentation today is knowing what is the correct equipment to use for certain sizes and certain amounts of food, certain types of food. Also how to use that equipment correctly in order to minimize both waste and cost. And finally, how to correctly interpret and read both meal tickets and food labels in order to serve patients correctly and make sure they are getting their adequate nutrient intake. And with that, we're going to begin.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about how to ensure proper portion control. So there's some tools that you can use for portioning. You can use scales such as this, scoops, as well as ladles. Now when you are using the scale, you want to make sure that it is calibrated to 0 before weighing an object. Otherwise you're not going to get the correct portion. So that one's 1.5 ounces. Okay, so next with the scoops, how to determine the number of the scoop is it's the amount of servings you're going to get out of a 1 quart container or 32 ounces of your item. So the number 8 scoop right here, it's going to serve a 4 ounce portion. And with the ladles, these are some common ladles that we have that in use. Just a 1 ounce is going to be 1/8 of a cup. And so I'm also going to talk to you guys about how costing relates into portion control. We want to keep this in mind because there's several factors that can tie into that. So when you are serving out the portions, if you serve something that is smaller than what we had planned, it's going to lead to leftovers. We don't want this because it is going to tie up too much money in our inventory because it's going to be a slow turnover rate. We also don't want to serve more than what we have planned, otherwise it's going to lead to a shortage in our food. And this is going to reduce the efficiency of the operation because we're going to have to make another batch that we did not plan for. We also want to not serve portions larger than what we had planned because this is going to increase our costs. And a way that this can increase costs is outlined right here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'll explain it to you guys. We have a number 10 106 ounce can of whole kernel corn priced at $3.98 per can. So if we serve the standard 4 ounce portion, it's going to cost us 15 cents per portion, and that is going to give us 26.5 portions per can. If we increase this just slightly to 4.5 ounces per serving by just scooping a little too much, this is going to increase our cost to almost 17 cents per portion, and this is going to be a 13% increase in our costs overall. If we further increase this to a 5 ounce portion, this is going to increase our cost to 19 cents per portion, as well as increase overall cost by 25%. Now this might not seem like a lot when just looking at the cents, but it is when considering the high volume of meals that we turn out every day. As well as that, given the fact that this is only 1 ingredient in 1 meal, and if we do this for more than 1 ingredient every single time, it's going to lead to just a huge increase in our overall cost.
The standardization of the recipe also works on the protein control. Well, it will yield the same number of the portion at each time you prepare, and it will eliminate the excess leftovers. And in this example is a manual of the recipe, a standardized recipe, and in here it have the 100 total chickens for serving for the 100 servings. So this is the total yield, and each one have the 1 sandwich contain 2 ounces for the chicken. This is the serving set for each person. And we use the instructions and equipment to serve the recipes. Well, from this, this recipes give the specific instruction for the employee to how to portions, like maybe some count, weight, and some else, and follow the well-written recipe. It will control the cost and the portions. So we can get some advantage in the standardized recipe is ease costing and training from the staff, and will limited the costing and the waste.
So, I'm going to be talking about the importance and the impact that this has in our facility as a nursing facility serving patients who have specific dietary needs. We're going to be focusing a lot on like food exchange, so the importance of food exchange. You're going to want to pay attention to the portions you're doing so that you're measuring the carbohydrates they're getting along with other macronutrients such as protein and fat and the types of fat. We'll be paying attention to that via the standardized recipes where we'll have all the nutrients already taken care of. We can also reference food exchange lists when going over what the patient needs and how we're meeting those needs. Other areas to pay attention to when we're trying to determine if we're meeting those needs are looking at food labels if we're not making the recipes in-house. You want to definitely be paying attention to the serving size. It's not always what we serve to direct patients, and it doesn't always accurately represent what each person is taking in. You might have experiences with maybe snack foods where you don't pay attention to it. Sometimes we serve things differently, so you're going to want to take that into account. Maybe instead of serving 100 grams of this food, you're going to be serving 50. So you're going to need to go through each thing, the calories, the fat, sodium, cholesterol, all those sorts of things, and consider taking those in half when you're looking at that patient's dietary needs. The importance of carbohydrate counting has been reflected in a number of research studies. One such I looked at displayed how taking into carbohydrate counting and mindful eating over the course of 24 weeks in adults with diabetes reduced their overall anthropometrics and risk for things such as diabetes morbidities, obesity, hypertension, as well as improving their overall quality of life. So it's really important that we pay attention to these things and help our patients to pay attention to the portions they're getting, and so they can improve these things and help reduce their overall risks.
So another important component of portion control is diet modifications. I know it might not seem like it's part of portion control, but it has a lot to do with how patients are being served and what patients are being served, because diet modifications are like altered meals that patients get when they're on specific medications or if they're on specific diets that they need, like less fat, less carbohydrates, or things in that sense. So they consist of oral diets that are often either the regular diets or they can be therapeutic diets, which often consist of like modified soft diets or liquid diets. I'm mostly going to focus on therapeutic diets though, like soft portions. They are planned by an RD after after a written report has been by a physician. So the RD works one-on-one with the patient and finds out things that they like to eat and like things that they won't eat due to certain religious aspects and things like that. Modified meals are important to the patient because it allows them to like kind of have a peace of mind. Like if they're in a hospital setting, they know that they're going to eat things that they want to eat rather than things that are like they're being forced to eat because they don't like the way it tastes, or like sacrifice skipping meals because they don't like what they're being served. Like they're going to be given options that they actually want to eat, and so they don't lose specific nutrients without eating the meals. So meal tickets are an important part of this kind of facility because it's like the major mode of communication from an RD to the food staff member, which is for the patient. So like the food ticket will have like all their specifications on it, so like their type of diet that they're on, and if they need less portions of certain items, that will also be stated. So it's really important that the correct meal is being served to the correct patient and that the meal ticket is being followed correctly to ensure that if the patient is on a specific medication, that they are given foods that don't interact with that medication. So yeah, to keep the patient healthy, it's very important to follow the meal tickets correctly. The URC was an example that we noticed most with meal ticket utilization. They do meal customizations like on a daily basis through this special nursing facility that they have, and we were able to observe like thickening of fluids and switching out raw vegetable salads with steamed vegetables. So for patients who who cannot consume hard foods because of like a dysplasia, is that what it's called? Things like that. And then, we were able to read the menu tickets and make meal portions. So to conclude, portion control is very important in food production. Portion control is used when following standardization of recipes to make meal preparation plans, so it follows the recipe and so that correct portions are served without maximizing portions and minimizing waste. It ensures adequate nutrient intake, and it also ensures that proper portions are being served so that places don't get audited. And it is also to make sure that utilization of meal ticket planning is read correctly.
All right, so we do have a couple questions. First, a little bit of math for you to take you back to determining the correct scoop or size scoop to use. What number scoop would you use if you wanted to get an 8-ounce portion to your patient? A hint would be that you're going to be getting 4 servings out of a 32-ounce container. Or, yeah, that's correct. Good job. A++. All right. So has anybody noticed any inconsistencies maybe in your own personal experience with restaurants or at food service sites that you've been to in their portion sizes? Maybe someone got more pasta than you on their plate and you're a little bit peeved about that, or any sort of experiences you might have or comments or anything you'd like to share.
When you go to restaurants, it's like the portions are always huge. So what are they going off of when they're making the rest? Going off of how much their consumers eat, or are they going off of like a standard that all consumers are looking at?
Well, looking at how, especially in America, portion sizes have generally increased over the last 40 years. It's more of an industry thing, plus the overall price of food has dramatically gone down in regards to like things like inflation and mass production. So for similar prices and in comparison, we're able to serve a lot more food. Generally, customers like that, where they can go somewhere and get a lot more food for their dollar. So it's a lot of supply and demand interaction going on.
Do you think they're picking up for like the size of the food then?
I think so. That's what I would go off of.
It varies by restaurant, but
Yeah.
they show these as platters of
Yeah.
food.
Like,
Just
and then
lots.
like a Mexican restaurant, you know, like the size
Yeah.
of a corn tortilla is, it hasn't changed.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
so if you get 3 tacos, like you know the size you're probably gonna get is gonna be small. But then you know, like you go to Chipotle, you know, burritos are not meant, those can feed you for a whole day,
no.
or at least half a day. They're
Yeah.
1,000 calories.
That's what I was gonna say, because the Chipotle that I go to in Fairfield, sometimes the burrito to this, sometimes to this.
Yeah, it's even when I go to places like the Coho or places that just are like more homey making burritos, and it all depends on who's holding your burrito that day on
There's
what
not
it's
as
gonna
much.
look like. Even though it's technically the same amount of food, same amount of scoops, same size scoops, it definitely looks different. So it's all about standardizing how you're preparing food as well to make sure you avoid those inconsistencies.
I've noticed that the BJ's Pizookie is not big enough for one person. Sorry.
And they're
Ariel,
getting
break
thinner
your
over time,
bubble.
because I used to work at a BJ's, and they're thinner every single time they
Really?
make them. Yeah.
So,
I'm content with a little trio. You know, that's good for me. Oreo.
You had a question?
So say if you were a restaurateur and you wanted to decrease your portion sizes, how would you go about it?
I work at a
Yeah,
small
small
business,
plates.
so I always get like a lot of my boss complaining about this. I just want to decrease these portion sizes and stuff like that. So a lot of different ways that I know are just kind of like decreasing the plate size to make the food look bigger. That's really the main one I know for getting away with something like that. Just
Make it look bigger.
yeah, make the food look bigger.
You can also reference the food waste, so you can be like, we're wasting a lot of food, so that means we can reduce the portion size. But then again, you go to the issue of like there's a standardized recipe, and sometimes you can't really change that unless like the chef actually changes it for you.
a lot of background work involved.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you guys.